Hello, everyone. This is Steve Keeter, and welcome to the Talking Small Press Comics show, except it's not the Talking Small Press Comics show. This is the Classic Comics Man show on my Classic Comics Man channel. We missed Larden an awful lot, but we're gonna continue doing what Larden and I started together, and reviewing comics and zines, and we're gonna do interviews. And today we have a very special guest with us, Verl Holt Bond. Verl Bond is here with us. Hey, man.
Howdy.
And we're going to ask him a few questions and talk about his experience in the small press community and the alternative press and the stuff that led him to start creating and blah, 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 blah. Let's start right away with a couple of questions. What were your earliest comic book and artistic efforts like? Did you draw comics like on note paper or anything when you were a little kid? How did you first start drawing comics?
Well, I was drawing comics as far back as I can remember, Steve. We were my mom and dad took us to church 3 times a week, and they always took these young teenagers along in the station wagon. And one day, one of them must have left several comic books in the back of the station wagon. Well, I picked them up, and I've been hooked ever since. I was probably about 9 years old, 8 or 9 years old then. But
oh my goodness,
yeah, I've been drawing. I used to draw my own comics. I was heavily influenced by Marvel and DC to begin with. I had superheroes, Oh yeah, I've been drawing comics as far back as I can remember.
I know what you mean.
I'm still doing it at 75.
Yeah. There you go. Wow, I'm 69 and I'm still doing it too. So it's something that once you, especially if you grew up in the Silver Age, or if you began reading comics in the 50s or the 60s. And with the DC comics of the time, with Superman and Crypto, who's finally going to be in a movie now, and the early Marvel comics, and all of that stuff. And there were a lot of comic book companies back in that days, and now we're down to just a few. But yeah, once you get started, once you're a little kid, and you see this stuff, and it's amazing. It's like action, and you start drawing, and you can't stop drawing if you're a creative person. So
very true.
Yeah. So that's exactly that's how it starts. And for us, I guess we never thought about it, that like 6-7 decades later, we'd still be doing it.
My mom once told me that when I was a kid, I would come in from playing outside for a couple hours. I'd sit down at the kitchen table and start drawing as soon as I came in. And comics was always my biggest influence. I was fascinated by the combination of pictures and words. And, you could create, write, and draw your own stories or tell your own stories. So that was really cool.
Yeah. So was your earliest...
Go ahead.
Were your earliest influences Marvel and DC comics, or were there other influences there?
My earliest influences were definitely DC and Marvel. I didn't even know there was any. I guess there was Charlton.
Charlton, yeah.
Yeah, they were around then, but I was totally hooked. After Marvel started becoming Marvel, I was hooked by them the whole 60s, I would say, from the early 60s till late 60s. Yeah. And Kirby was God.
Kirby, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
probably definitely my greatest influence, I think, was Kirby, Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby. I mean, I came up in that era, so and I've actually had to try very hard to pull away from that influence. Otherwise, I'll be writing everything in a Stan Lee technique, Stan Lee style, and drawing everything. And my earliest comics that I drew, I did emulate Kirby. Of course, I was never as good as him, but Yeah, I mean there were other comics too, like the Harvey comics and the Archie comics, and as
Yeah,
you said, the Charlton comics. There was a lot of stuff. Gold Key comics
Dale.
with Magnus Robot Fighter and stuff.
There you
But
are.
those were the big too, and only now they're making movies.
Yeah, movies of the superhero comics. Oh,
Yeah.
I gotta throw
Are
one more
you?
guy in there from my early days, and this was even before Kirby, and that was Joe Kubert.
Oh yeah, Kubert. Oh yeah, he was awesome.
I loved his
It
war
was Sergeant
comics.
Rock.
Yeah,
Yeah, Sergeant Rock, right?
Our
Joe
Army at
Kubert.
War,
Later, he did
starring
Tarzan.
Sergeant Rock and Easy Company.
Yeah, those were great comics, and he had that distinctive art style, that distinctive inking style, and
Oh yeah,
yeah, there was nobody else like Joe Kubert. I can kind of see where that might be an influence on you, looking at your artwork. I mean, I can just grab anything here. Here's a copy of Defenders of Mars, of one of the issues that you drew,
yeah.
and that realistic style. It's the inking style, the fine line inking style. That's not too far off from what Kubert was doing. Uh,
Well, I think my
that's pretty
art
decent.
is come back much more to Joe Kubert than Kirby, because Kirby was
Yeah,
like, fantastic superheroes, and Joe's
right.
style, more realistic style, is where I'm at right now.
Yeah, because I don't really see. I mean, a lot of stuff here. I don't really see Kirby in this. I see more of
No,
Kubert in this.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm trying to be as realistic with my figures as I can, anatomy and all that.
yeah. Well, you do a superb job in that respect. You definitely do a superb job. And I mean, I got a lot of your stuff spread out all over here. Unfortunately, the camera's on the PC, and I can't move it so you can see all the stuff I've got on this table. But I got so much of your stuff here. I got the recent Galactic Diary. That one was this hand colored, or how was that colored?
That was hand colored with Winsor Newton markers and a little bit of colored pencil to accent areas.
Wow.
And I was
Well, that
just
looks nice.
dying to have a color cover because Larry Johnson and a lot of the other guys were coming out with color covers. And I said, man, I got
Yeah,
to get in the ball game.
yeah. And then the black and white interiors. I didn't mean to jump all the way from the 1960s up to 2025, but this is great artwork.
That's
And
okay,
yeah, the
man. Thank you
anatomy.
much. That's
I'm
one
just
of my,
kind of,
that's a motto from one of my post-apocalyptic stories, post-Holocaust blues.
yeah. Speaking of the anatomy, I wish I had a body like this guy, man. I'll tell you what.
I wish I did
I
too.
yeah. Let's move on to the next question. See what we got here. What was your first comic or story for small press? What was the first thing you ever did for small
Okay,
press?
that's a good question. I was thinking about that today when I was reviewing your questions. When before I actually joined the UFO, I was working on a series, once again, a post-apocalyptic series,
Yeah.
and I had never put any of my work into a book. And that's when you do comics, getting your stories published, that's like the ultimate, that's what you got to do.
Right.
Well, I finally went down to a local Kinko's and I had them print up all my story that I had. And when they gave it back to me, man, I was, oh my God, this is beautiful.
Yeah. First time you see your stuff in print, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
And
no doubt.
I mean, I got okay. This is an issue of Tetragrammaton Fragments, the UFO newsletter.
Yeah.
And this is from way back. This is from way back in the early 1990s. This is issue 126, where the UFO newsletter is up to issue 280, which is about to be published.
Yeah.
What year was this published? So this would be probably in the very early 1990s. And
I joined
and
you
you were
guys
doing
in the early '90s, first time.
yeah, and you were doing the comic strip Gazette.
Yeah, that was my first book I did with the UFO, and that gal is Tasha, my first heroine.
Yeah, very strong looking, sexy woman.
Well, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, exactly. So you succeeded on that, and there's so much more because I got so much here. Let me see what else I got. I got more questions because I wrote all this stuff down. You know, before Larned passed away, we were planning to do an interview, and I wrote out all these questions like 6 weeks ago. And I'm
Yeah.
glad that we're finally getting able to do the interview. It's a real pleasure. It's a real pleasure to have you on
Oh,
the
it's a lot
show.
of
And
fun, man. I've been looking forward to this, and I was a little worried the whole time because I don't know jack about computers, but I lucked out and got my daughter to help me. So here we are.
yep. Okay. Well, we got to thank your daughter, and let's keep moving here. Uh, oh, I have a letter you wrote in 2019. Now I do, in fact, have that letter here. It was inside an issue of Defenders of Mars that you sent me, and this crumpled up old letter is still. I got it right here. I saved it all these years. So, but it says here, in it, you wrote, the small press can be a lonely place if you don't have any other fellow enthusiasts to hobnob with. And you said that kind of jokingly. But do you see it as beneficial to be involved with a co-op or APA, where people are part of a group? Does it make a difference in terms of your output and your inspiration, or not? Or is it just something you really enjoy doing?
It's both. I reapplied to the UFO. I think during the COVID crisis when they
Yeah.
weren't having any conventions and stuff like that. So I figured,
Yeah.
man, I got to get the whole thing of doing comics is sending them out to people and having them read them. So the best place I could think of was to get back with the UFO during that COVID vivid business, and and
Absolutely. Yeah.
and like I said, hobnobbing with my fellow creators.
We appreciate it. That's great. I'm great to have you back on board after all these years. I mean, I dropped out for a while. I was gone for a few years, but I was in a marriage. I got divorced. Blah blah blah. I went to California. Blah blah blah. I came back, got back into the UFO. Been doing comics again ever since. So no matter how far you stray away, the allure of graphic literature of your that creative urge keeps bringing you back. Can't really get away from it and stay away from it.
No,
For a little while you can, but not for long. And plus, I was playing guitar at the time too, so I kind of substituted one addiction for another. One passion for another. But eventually, it had to come back to comics because that's my first passion.
yeah,
But we're not interviewing me; we're interviewing you. So let me
that's okay, man.
let's see what else we can come up with. Yeah. You mentioned post-apocalyptic uh, comics,
Yeah,
post-Armageddon comics or whatever. Speaking of Defenders of Mars, which is really, really a brilliant series, and I have here are some of the issues. You know, they all have great covers. We saw that one already, but this is
I
something.
wish I
This
could
is
have done the
something you've
big
been
ones in
doing.
color. That's my only regret. Yeah, I love doing
Yeah,
that
what's
series.
that? In color? You wish you could have done it in
I
color?
wish I could have done the covers at least in color. That would have been nice.
The covers in color, yeah. Yeah. I think there's one more over here. Yeah, this is more recent. Look at this one.
Oh yeah,
Highly dramatic cover.
thank you. Yep, that's the last episode of Defenders of Mars, number 5.
So, yeah, and it's all kinds of stuff. Some of it takes place on one planet or the other. Some of it takes place in outer space.
Yeah.
But there,
The ship that was orbiting Mars um, ends up working with the rebels on Mars to work against Putin's forces.
right,
So
right, yeah. So I really enjoy reading these issues. A lot of stuff going on. It's very emotional. I mean, it was really tragic. Like this picture here, this represents a tragic scene. Some of the people that you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
you
Well,
come to care for the characters.
that was Sergeant Zhukov, and it was kind of a war, and you never know who's going to get killed or wounded in a war.
Right. Yeah. But this was truly an epic series. I mean,
Thank you.
so this stands up. This definitely stands the test of time. This is something I think you'll be able to pick up on many years from now. Just pick it up and start reading. One heck of a excellent writer. I mean, you're really good, and
Well, thank you, Steve. Writing,
people,
writing has always been one of my things too, man. I love writing and writing good stories.
All right. So that was Defenders of Mars. I want to ask you very quickly about you. You were in the Army when you were younger.
Yeah.
Your
Sure.
military experience, and how much did you do comics when you were in the military, and how much has the military affected your not just your worldview, but also the comics that you've done over the years? How much has that affected you?
Well, I went into the Army at 19 in January 1969 for 3 years. I trained as a medic. I went to Vietnam in December of '69 for a
Oh
year,
my goodness.
and I was a infantry company medic, and part of that was in aid stations. And then when my year was up, I got my young self out of there as fast as I could.
As fast as you could.
Yeah.
So, were you drafted?
No,
You were
I
drafted.
enlisted for
Yeah.
3
So you got
years.
out of there. Yeah. This is fun. I'm out of here. Leave me alone. Goodbye. I mean,
Well, yeah, you asked me how it affected me, and it had you can't be in the service and be in a war zone without being affected by it. I mean,
yeah,
it's huge, and it's
I'm
affected
sure.
a lot of my stories. I'd have to say
Oh my
all the
goodness.
time, practically. You know,
Wow. And that's something the draft ended before I was 18. The draft ended
thank
like
God.
73 or something. And I was right on the verge. I had a draft registration card, but I
I'm
never
sure you
got my
did.
draft card. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I was sweating bullets. I didn't want to go over there. All the
Well,
stuff they were showing on the news at that time.
I was stupider than most people, man. I went down and enlisted. I'm still not quite sure why.
Oh, you did enlist, so you weren't drafted.
No, I enlisted.
Okay. So, well, I mean, definitely, we have to honor and appreciate your service. Thank you so much for serving your country that way,
Oh, thank you, man.
even for 1 year. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I had my mom's husband, my stepdad. He was a staff sergeant in the Marines at the time. Well,
Yeah.
he was in the Marines, and he had 4 tours of Vietnam. He also had 1
Oh
tour
my
of Korea.
God.
I mean, he was in. Yeah, he was for a long time, but that 4th time they called him up to go to Vietnam, he said he did not want to go. He had enough.
I would think so.
Yeah, but that was in the late 60s. So the Vietnam War ended.
Yeah.
If you go online and you look up Vietnam now it just seems like kind of a peaceful country and everybody's happy and everything. At that time in the 60s, we just saw them as the enemy, and it was quite a tragic time, and a whole lot of people went to war and died, and Americans died, Vietnamese died. And but now, like, because I've been looking a little online at Asian countries. They're quite a prosperous country now.
Oh, I've seen pictures of Vietnam now. It's not even the same place, man.
Not even the same
Da
place.
Nang was a big Marine base during the war. There was a lot of fighting there during the Tet Offensive, and now it looks like Disneyland. It's just unbelievable.
In 2020, all right. In 2020 and 2021, you contributed a number of strips to Jim Main's Brain Freeze.
Yeah,
Brain
that was
Freeze. And I
that
have
was
a
a great
few.
one. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I got a bunch of issues of this Brain Freeze, from Jim Main. Jim, you watching? We're talking about your comic here. And I'm about to drop them all, but I got so many here.
Speaking of Vietnam, Steve, my best story that I did for Jim, in my opinion, was in the issue of Brain Freeze called Slice of Life Stories. And I did a story in that called Chance Meeting. And it was kind of autobiographical because it was about when I was my last year in the Army and going to a party and trying to meet girls and all that kind of stuff. So that was definitely one of the best stories I did for Jim.
Yeah, here's the story here. Chance Meeting.
Yep, that's it.
So
it's pretty autobiographical.
And really, so this is there's one panel here where I might not want to show it on screen, but anyway.
Yeah, that's okay. Yep, there it is.
And the artwork is simple here, very simple, and more simple. I think if you're dealing with something like this, something tender and soft, and you're talking about love and romance and that sort of thing, you don't want to go overboard with the artwork. The concept, what you're concentrating on. And she's Vietnamese, and they come together.
Yeah, he asked her to dance really right on the last page.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's really nice. Yeah, happy endings are good. So, where are we now? Let's see. I still have all these this stuff written down. You and Jim Main together created Clay Hutchins, the Western hero.
Yeah,
which some of it was in one of Jim Main. I think in Pazette. Was it in Pazette? And some of it was reprinted, and it might be new stuff. But these are two great comics, and it's Western, so it's a totally a change of format and change of style for you.
Yes,
in terms of storytelling.
That's a darn good question, Steve, because you asked me if it was a challenge to go from sci-fi to Western. It was a challenge, but it was a fun challenge because me and my wife, we watch Gunsmoke all the time. So I love Western.
Yeah, I did when I was a kid, yeah.
I enjoyed getting the weaponry right and the clothing and the horses and the Western town. That was a fun challenge.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of great stuff. Even simple thing. Of course, you make it like here's just a scene with a bunch of guys in a saloon, and it looks like right out of the Wild West. It's brilliantly done there. I really do think so. And the guys are just talking here, but even that panel in the middle, I really like that. It's it comes across well.
Well, thanks.
It looks like you're there. I've been looking through these a lot. Oh yeah, this was an interesting story too. Yeah, let me see. there's a lot going on here, but you have, this intense scenes in the Wild West with these guys with guns and they're watching someone else.
Yeah. I tried to illustrate it as best I could, to get it across clearly.
Yeah. And it's kind of a long story, too. There's a lot going on in here.
Yeah, I think it's almost 30 pages. That second one is.
Yeah.
That's one of the best parts of the story there. That was a real challenge, get all the characters in the panels there and get them right. Yeah, a lot of fun.
There's a lot of characters, and you pulled it off. I mean, you pulled it off and made every one of them sympathetic and realistic, and
well, thanks.
It was really nice excellent stuff. So, I mean, kudos to Jim Main, but kudos to you. And I like this cover here because it's all panels from the book, but there's no dialogue. It's just a cover. It's just showing you what's going on there.
From the story.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a good one. That was a really good one. That's a recent one too.
Yeah, that was the second issue.
And I got so much. Yeah. Yeah, the first issue was this one.
Oh, that's the first issue. Yeah. Yeah. I really like that cover too. I got a dramatic moment from the story and put it on the cover. And I think it does a pretty good job of intriguing people as to see how it turned out. Yeah,
definitely. Because you got this guy here, he comes into town and he's kind of a nice guy, but this lady's being mistreated, and that's all in the story. Right. But the nice guy, Clay Hutchins, turns out to be a nice guy. You can see him, here he is, moseying into town right here on his horse.
Yeah.
And eventually people find out that he is a nice guy, but he's no pushover. And
no.
Here she goes. Here you go. This is in the story. This lady's being mistreated.
Oh, that's where he meets the young lady. Cool. I love that.
Yeah, you don't treat a lady like that. And then a man comes into the picture here. No, you're not going to let that happen. Not when he's around. So he takes care of that problem. And here he is. And here he is. He's helping her up from the floor.
Yeah, him helping her up is probably my favorite scene in the whole story.
Yeah, that's very kind of moving. It's kind of moving. It really is.
Well, that's what I wanted to do. I appreciate it.
Right after all the science fiction stuff and everything, it's kind of cool to see that you're that good at Western stories.
Thanks, man.
Steve Shipley's out there doing. Yeah, there's not too many people are doing Western comics, and Steve Shipley's doing it sometimes, and you and Jim are doing it. I don't know if you're going to do more, but I'll tell you what, these were standout issues. So I really enjoyed both of those.
Thank you kindly. I really enjoyed doing them. A lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. Have to see if Jim wants to do any more of those. Maybe.
Well, whenever he's ready, I'm ready.
You talked about, Galactic Diary. We mentioned that. The futuristic barbarian Wolf McKenzie. This book was left with the hero having survived a brutal attack and then left, then to be continued. My understanding is you're working on a new issue, right?
I am working. Number 3 is ready to go. So there's a little bit about, there's about an 8-pager in that about Wolf and his girlfriend, Jenny. But I have more short stories in number 3. But number 4, I'm already on page 20 of Wolf and Jenny, Mata and Sven's adventures coming back. They're going to be the whole number 4 issue, which will be 64.
Holy cow! Pages. Yeah, and these are epic stories,
Oh yeah,
That's
I
kind
had a
of
lot of fun with that, man. A lot of fun.
yeah. So these stories are epic, and like this particular issue, now some of this, okay, well, some of this was published in Jim Maine zines, weren't they?
They were published.
No,
The first three episodes of Post Holocaust Blues were published by Alan Sissom. I can't remember the name of his
Alan
book that was
Sissom.
published.
Okay,
Yeah,
Alan, I know you're watching, Alan. Sorry, I got you now. We got it down. No worries.
I voted for you, Alan.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of cool stuff here, including it's there's so much action, and then there's this. There's this, which takes place on the high seas.
Yes, yes, the far shore. That's the chapter where they're crossing the inland sea to the new, basically the new world. They were in what's left of Europe, and they end up crossing the inland sea to the new world, America. What's left of America.
Okay. All right. So yeah, a lot of stuff, a lot of action, and great characters. Uh, the ladies get involved in the action. She's shooting an arrow. And,
he's an archer. Jenny is an archer.
Yep. So there goes Jenny, and
she's getting their
really
supper for
these characters. Yeah. Let's see here now. Take a look at this here. Now you wrote all of this, right? These are all your stories.
Yeah.
Wow. Let me get some highly dramatic stuff here. Here's where things go totally off the rails.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's in the second story, the second episode, called. Hold on, just a second. Victims of the Fury, which I got from the that rock group. Shoot, can't think of his name right now.
Victims of the Fury.
Sure you know him. He played in guitar in Procol Harum. Then he formed his own group. Can't think of his name now for the life of me. But he had
I used to love
a song called Victims of Fury, which is one of my favorite rock songs. So I said, man, I have got to name one of my chapters after that, Victims of the Fury, because it fits perfectly.
I like Procol Harum, Whiter Shade of Pale.
There you go, man. One of the best songs ever.
One of the greatest songs ever written, right? Absolutely. And here we got this guy, I guess is Wolf McKenzie, and he's rescuing Jenny. Jenny, this is the beginning of.
Oh yeah, yeah, right.
And
he rescued her from those three dorks.
Yeah, she wasn't being treated well. And that's what led, I think, to that later scene where people's heads are getting cut off and everything. But there she is.
They sort of forced him into the situation.
Yeah, and this is like, almost, it could be like a poster. It's almost like so cool. So
yeah,
cool.
That came out really nice. I got a lot of books of anatomical reference books because I really want to get my anatomy, male and female, as realistic as I possibly can.
It is realistic. So
thank you for holding that one up. That's one of my best.
Yeah, that's a great issue too. Even towards the end.
Hey, excuse me, Steve. I just remembered the rock star's name, Robin Trower.
Oh, Robin Trower, that's right. Oh, he was awesome. Bridge of Sighs
is the name of one of his really cool songs I love, and I said I got to use that title, man.
I had several Robin Trower. I had like 2,000 record albums in my collection back in the 1970s, And
Same here, man.
I had Robin Trower's. I had Robin Trower's Bridge of Sighs. I used to have a
There you go.
turntable suspended from the ceiling. You had that too? Was it hanging from the
Yeah.
ceiling? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love
So
it,
it
man.
wouldn't skip. Yeah, we were. I was totally. And let's see. What did I bring up? I got more questions here. Let me see. Oh, now I don't want to get into politics here because I don't want to offend
Okay.
anyone out there. And but I will mention that in Tetragrammaton Fragments, number 267, you had a strip dealing with Vladimir Putin and the Russian invasion of the Ukraine.
Yeah.
So just to mention, um, are you do you tend to avoid politics, or is this something you just felt like you had to say something, or in
Uh,
your stories, do you?
I avoid politics in my stories. Um, I want my stories to be escapism for people because that's what I like to do.
Yeah,
Heroic escapism. But the those Ukrainian things, it was just heating up. The Russians had just invaded Ukraine, and it was kind of all over the place. You know what was going to happen, and
yeah,
I just felt like I wanted to express my sympathy for the Ukrainians. Now, now we
yeah. That's a
know,
mess over there.
thanks to Vladimir Putin, uh, they say as many people have been killed in that war as in the Battle of Stalingrad in World War II. So it
Wow,
kind of shows you why
wow.
President Trump wanted him to sign a ceasefire, and
Yeah,
hopefully they will.
yeah.
You
There's
know,
too much
I
fighting.
try
Too
to
much
stay
fighting
with.
going on in the world. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it's probably for the best. But sometimes you feel like you got to say something. So, but do it in a subtle way. Not to impress on somebody else. But uh,
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah.
cool.
My
That's cool. I
stories.
understand. I don't think anyone.
I want my stories to be escapist adventures, so you can get
Absolutely.
away from
Yeah.
reality for a while.
Yeah. Jim Main's Tales from Greek Mythology. You
Oh
illustrated a
yeah,
sequel to Jason and the Argonauts, one of my favorite movies of all time.
that's a
Now I
great
just need
one.
to find it. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So yeah, that was one of Ray Harryhausen's great special effects
Oh,
artist. One of his greatest.
beautiful, amazing work in that he did.
Yeah, absolutely, and probably one of his best, one of his very best. And here it is. Again, the artwork is sublime, and it's really really nice. I mean, you could just
Thanks
see that,
again.
like,
Um, it fit right in with what Jim was doing and what I wanted to do,
yeah.
and then I got Tom Ahern to ink it, which really helped too. Uh,
And that's interesting too. Tom Ahern's inks, because they're quite different from yours.
yes, they
Tell
are.
about Tom's inks on that issue. Your pencils and his inks is really
One thing
excellent,
I have
really
to give him a
outstanding.
special compliments on was how he did the dark forest that the two young people meet in. He did a superb job on that dark forest.
Oh, we got that right here. I guess that's what this
There you
is, right?
go. Yeah.
Yeah, and all those dark blacks and everything. It's interesting because the styles the totally
Yeah,
mesh.
it came out really
It's
good.
yeah,
I'm
it
very
gives it
happy with it.
yeah, it's really nice. And I mean, it's like the best of both styles, the best of both styles. Uh, your realism combined with the darks and the solid blacks and the bold lines of Tom Ahern.
Yeah, it's very
So,
dramatic looking, and I'm very happy with how he inks my stuff.
wow. Well, you guys should do more stuff together. This was superb. Just look at that. And it's still your story. I mean, you can see
Oh
the
yeah, it's my story all
emotion,
the way.
expression. the expression. He doesn't take away anything from you. He just adds his own touch.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't stop looking at stuff like this. I can't stop looking at stuff like this because so expressive.
Well, I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for a love story too, and I had to get romance. One in here between the two young people.
Wow. All right. That's great. What else do we have? Do we have anything else? Let me see. What are you working on now? What are your present plans?
I'm glad you brought that up about the story and his tales of Greek mythology. I have completed 2 more episodes in that series. So I'm not sure what Jim's going to be doing, if he's going to keep publishing tales from Greek mythology. But now I do have 31 pages for that series, The New Adventures of Jason and the Argonauts, ready to go.
Holy cow.
So
that's great.
You go, Jim. If you're ready, man, it's ready.
Wow. So you're as prolific as ever, maybe more so. It helps to be retired?
Yeah, because I got all kinds of free time.
I'm retired too, but I don't have as much free time because they're still working me at my job, but that's okay.
I know. I remember you talking about that. Retirement is a wonderful thing.
Oh my gosh. I wish I could show everybody all the books that I have, but I got so much stuff that has your work in it. I mean, I could just pick up. This is just part of it, okay? This is nothing. And I was surprised too because I said, okay, going to interview Verl. Let me go through my small press collection and see what comics have worked by Verl. And there's just so many. I mean, there's just tons. Don't mention Alan Sissom. Here's Collector's Link fanzine.
Oh, that's right it. There. Yeah, that's the ones he published my original 3 episodes of Post-Holocaust Blues.
There they go. It says right here, Post-Holocaust Blues. And then this was their cover for the STF Amateur.
Yep.
And
a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah.
That's Wolf and Jenny on the cover.
Yeah, and that's Heath Rowe. That's Heath Rowe's zine.
Yeah, Heath Rowe.
Wolf and Jenny right there.
Had a lot of fun with that one.
He's a prolific publisher too. I need to interview him too sometime.
Oh, tell me about it.
Really busy.
Yeah.
He's a globetrotter too. He goes all over the world. And this is an apozine, and it's got tons of pages. Heath, are you watching? We're talking about you, man. But it's vastly entertaining.
It's all good, Heath.
And they have great covers. Okay, I think that's about it for now. We're coming up on 53 minutes. Yeah, so have to cut this short because people don't watch it if it's too long. But it's an absolute joy and a pleasure and an honor to talk with you, and I appreciate you coming on. And hopefully, I can edit this all out, and it'll be smooth. And
well, I really appreciate the interview, Steve, and I thank you for going to all the trouble, man.
And no trouble. Yeah. So hopefully I can get this edited down, put it up in a couple of days. Okay. So that's it. And thank you so much, Verl. I appreciate it. You're a great pal and a great talent. And it was a real pleasure. So
thank you, man.
Adios.
Adios.